Okay. Can I go?
Yes, Ms. Mhlaba, continue.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Moses Kotane Institute's Friday virtual lectures. I am Lungile Mhlaba, and today we will be talking Census 2022. Now, when we're looking around the world, a lot of countries have been encouraged to conduct population censuses. This is quite important in all these countries to understand the profile of their populations. How can government better serve their constituencies? But most importantly, how can business better understand the market they wish to target for their businesses? Now, today we have Ms. Helen North, who will be talking to us about Census 2022 in South Africa, particularly its preparation in KZN, and how the data that we are going to collect through this census will be of benefit to entrepreneurs as well. As we are now in Entrepreneurship Month, we believe that the data that comes out of the census will be useful unto them because they are our innovators, they are the employers of tomorrow. So to take us through the presentation, it is Ms. Helen North from the Statistics South Africa Provincial KZN office. She is the Chief Director heading the operations at the office, and then she was born and bred in the province. In terms of her accolades, she has an undergraduate and postgraduate studies from the University of KwaZulu-Natal with an honors in geography, and obsessed with all things special. She completed her Master of Science degree at the University of London after a 4-year stint abroad. Returning to South Africa, she started working for Stats South Africa in the year 2000. This was when it was preparation for 2011 census. This is where her passion for numbers and space collided, and has seen her work in a number of statistics projects. Of note is the 2 censuses that she has participated in to date, and also playing a leading role in transitioning the department to digital data collection. Now we know that now we have moved to the digital space, even the new normal that we have learned to live in since last year. So to tell us more about these initiatives and how we are going to do it in Census 2022, I hand over to you, Ms. Helen North. Thank you.
Is just finished. Margins are all over the place, so you'll forgive me for one second. There we go. So I'm going to be able to squeeze everything in that I have to say. Can you?
Yes, we can hear you, Helen. You are just breaking a bit. How is your connection now?
Okay, no, I just fine. I was like, I was just saying that I'm not going to be able to things I need to, but going after one. Go. The next slide. Okay.
Not yet, Helen.
You tell me when you leave the clock side. I'm not quite sure exactly what is happening here. Um, maybe try and share it again. How's that?
Can you try and reshare, Helen, your content? We cannot see it.
Is it showing now?
And not yet, Miss North.
Miss North? Are you still with us, Helen?
Ladies and gentlemen, apologies for that interruption. We seem to be having connectivity challenges on the part of our speaker. She has just asked that we give her a minute or two. We will resume shortly. Thank you.
You're back, Helen. Thank you. Feel free
I'm
to
back.
start.
Sure, what a way to start. Okay, I'll jump right to it. I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties. Like I said, we did practice this all beforehand, so not quite sure what went wrong there. Lungile going to drive it on that side just to make sure we don't have any disasters. So you can jump forward, Lungile, just to, I'll skip who we are. We're Stats SA. You can read it later and we can circulate the presentation. We do a lot of official statistics, but the most important thing we do is our population census. And for those of you who don't know, a population census, just if you want to move to the next slide, it is basically, it's as if we took a picture of the country at a particular time. And on the 2nd of February next year, we're going to be taking a snapshot of South Africa, and we're going to take details of everybody as they were on the night of the 2nd of February. So we will get information about how people live, their ages, their living conditions, their level of education, their income, and their religion, all sorts of things. And this demographic and socioeconomic information is really important information for most significantly government and planners and the like. But it also has a lot of value for people like yourselves, people who are running businesses. And my presentation is just going to share a little bit about how unique a census is and how this data can be of a lot of use for people like yourselves. So one of the things that is unique about a census is it gives very low level data. So normally you can get information on provincial level or a national level, but it's quite unusual to get information right down to like a place name level, so that you can go right down to a suburb or right down to a traditional authority and be able to get information about that specific area. We were supposed to have a census in October this year, but unfortunately due to COVID, we had challenges with the elections and those were postponed. And then we had to postpone our census as well. So we've been forced to reschedule it to February, and we are still very nervous about the pandemic and the impact that it is going to have on the census, but we are forging ahead. So you can move to that next slide, and it's just a little bit of an animation, so you can just click forward for me, Lungile. This is just a snapshot of how intensive the census exercise is. It's massive. We've got a whole lot of mapping that we do. We have to recruit and train thousands of enumerators. We have to go around to the different households, get them to participate. We've got vast amounts of information that we then have to gather from all of these households that we have to analyze and edit and prepare into tables and reports, and then we finally release and communicate the results. It's also extremely expensive, so it costs billions of rands, which is why we only do it every 10 years. We don't do it more regularly than that because of the extreme cost, and it is, like we mentioned, quite a significant exercise. If we move to that next slide, some pretty cool things about Census 2022 that we're doing. We are going to have an entirely digital census, although when you look at how technology can be a blessing and a curse, sometimes I wonder how good that's going to be with our load shedding challenges that we're experiencing. It certainly adds another dimension of complexity. But the nice thing about having things digital is that everything is real time. So our computer-aided devices are going to be our main mode of data collection, and it is going to mean that there's no having to process data later. It's going to come straight into the device as is. We've also got other options that households will be able to use to do the questionnaires. So they'll be able to register and use either web or telephone options to have the questionnaire done. We are busy at the moment trying to get recruitment done, and we're trying to do this very localized. So we are trying to make sure that we recruit people where they live, so that we don't have challenges with transporting people and the like. And then there's a whole range of systems that have been developed, like online fieldworker verification systems, budgeting management systems, all sorts of online dashboards and stuff that have been developed to support operations. We've also had a dwelling frame update where we've gone around and we've georeferenced all of the dwellings in the country to get a register of dwellings to also help our count. So there's quite a lot of significant innovations which we've done this year. But let's get into the main reason why we're here is to talk about what is actually going to come out of this census. And there's a whole lot of different data items that are going to come out. We're going to have information on demographics, migration, mortality, fertility, education, health, housing, income, employment, what people are in their households, household goods, household services. There's a whole lot of different data items that they're going to have. And these sorts of population and housing characteristics are going to be reported at a whole lot of different levels. And what's most interesting, like I mentioned earlier, is that they're going to have information is going to be available at place name level. And this very granular level of data means that we're going to get a lot of data. It's massive amounts of data at very small levels. And this will give us a very rich data source that we can then use to analyze. So yourselves as entrepreneurs, let's have a look at what's available. And what I'm giving you is going to be like a teeny smidgen of a snapshot as to what's actually out there. So there's a massive amount of data. For yourselves as entrepreneurs, you need to understand consumers, and census data can help you understand consumers. So you can use your data to use our data to tell you how many people are in a certain area. So let's say you were interested in finding out how many people live in Durban CBD. We would be able to tell you how many people live there, what their living arrangements are, profile their age, their income, their educational attainment, what their commuting patterns are, their occupation levels, their housing, their living conditions, and their number of rooms. And then on the basis of that, you would be able to make a whole lot of business decisions, marketing decisions by looking at that sort of information. So I do often say that statistics will tell you what you already know. So what you would already know about the CBD would probably be confirmed by the statistics. But I'm going to take you through some of the data that came out of Census 2011. I can promise you that Stats.SA has done a lot more data since 2011, but I'm just showing you these slides because we're going to have a lot of similar data that's going to come out of 2022. So at the end of the presentation, and I hope it's on this version, Lungile, is our website, and you can go on there and you can get all the details for how to access our data. And in 2016, we did a very large-scale survey called Community Survey, and that data is a lot more up-to-date than this one. So forgive me for this one. It's still got some of the old municipal boundaries on it. It's just because it was collected in 2011, but the updated data is on our website. But anyway, this would then, of course, be the snapshot that I told you on the night of October, 2011. And it is just of interest to note how many people lived in our metros, specifically eThekwini. You can see that even when you look at in KwaZulu-Natal, almost or just over a third of people are living in eThekwini. So again, this says to ourselves, if you are looking at establishing a business and you're marketing your products, that a third of the population is basically living in eThekwini and 10% are living in Global, you've got already 40% of your provincial market share just in those two districts alone. So a lot of your, if you're going to be marketing, a lot of your efforts can be directed at those two areas. The next slide will just show a little bit more about which areas in the province have been growing and which have been slowing. So it is interesting to note that we're definitely urbanizing as a country, but what's interesting to note is the areas that are in dark green are the municipalities that have grown the most. And if you just click the mouse there for me, Lungile, we'll see which ones those were specifically. Yeah, you just click, yeah. So of interest, it's places like Kwarakuza and Mngeni, which we know, especially Kwarakuza, Belito, and those places have grown significantly. Mngeni, Hilton, Howick, and Popameni, those places have grown a lot. So this again should be of interest to ourselves as entrepreneurs. If you're selling building materials and the like, those would be good places to start marketing them to. Another very important thing to look at if you're an entrepreneur is age structure. So in KwaZulu-Natal, we're quite a youthful age structure. Almost a third of our population are sitting under the age of 15. And what this chart does is it's just broken down ages on the one side. So at the bottom of the chart are people below 15, and the top are people that are older. So there's much less people obviously that are older, because as you get old, unfortunately, you die. And at the bottom, you'll see your younger is quite big because there's quite a lot of children being born. And there's a very, very large amount of youthful people between the ages of 20 and 30. Unfortunately, if you start to go into this data even more, you see that that age group is also predominantly unemployed, which is where we're facing so many challenges in the country to make sure we can get an economy to absorb that. And again, if you look at age structure and you break it down, that's the richness again of census data. You can look at it spatially and look at it all over the province. You can see that you've got a lot more older people in your rural areas and a lot more younger people in your more urban areas. Similarly, if you're looking at, this is looking at sex ratio. The sex ratio, you'll see you'll have a lot more females that are residing in your more rural areas, and more males are residing in your urban areas, or those municipalities where mining and those sorts of industries are quite prevalent. So there's interesting dynamics, and it is going to be very interesting to see in 2022 how much those dynamics will have changed in those municipalities. The last one, I think, Lungile, is, I think that might have been the last. Oh, is looking at migration. So this is also a very interesting one. We've We've normally had a bit of a net migration which means that the same amount of people that are leaving are coming into KZN, but we have quite a significant outflow of people. Over 200,000, almost 200,000 people left for Gauteng. This is quite common, people leaving for better opportunities or for work. And in terms of people that are coming into the province, if you click again for me, Lungile, you'll see the arrows are coming. There's a little bit of return flow from Gauteng, and quite a lot of people coming in from the Eastern Cape. So these are also just what is interesting to analyze from the perspective of the dynamics of the fact that we are a country that is very mobile. We're constantly moving, and these are some of the movements that are occurring interprovincially. The last slide, and this is where it does get very interesting. So everything that I've shown you at a district or a provincial and a district level, you can go right down with that same information, right down to, you could pick any one district. This is, for example, eThekwini. And you can take any one of those variables and look at it at a place name level. So these, for example, we're just looking at that second slide there is looking at household size, and you can see how in your more sort of rural, traditional areas of eThekwini, household size is much, much larger than your more suburban areas. And these are the kinds of things that you can draw from the data. So I'm going to wrap up now with a plea to please help us get this message out. We have, like I said, we needed to recruit several thousand enumerators to do this very important job. We have a database where people can register. Unemployed people only, please. They will not be able to work for us if they are already working for a government department. So please, only if they're unemployed. There is a website there, www.statssa.gov.za/HR, and if we can just get the word out for anyone who wants to register. We've got this massive task ahead of us. There's some stats on the next slide which just outline exactly how big our task is. About 20,000 enumerators that we're going to need to do this task, all of these devices and whatnot. And we want to make sure that we don't miss any of these 12 million odd people and 3.5 million odd households. So we'll also be asking that as citizens, you do your job in terms of making sure that you are counted as well. We have our little hashtag #GetCounted to just encourage all citizens to participate. And the next slide is just the logo, and the last slide is how you can contact us. It's just got the details of our website and yes, all of that. So thank you very much, Lungiwe, and thank you so much for the opportunity to present. It's much appreciated, and my apologies. I wish I knew what had gone wrong, especially after we'd done all of our testing and everything. But gremlins, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Helen, and apologies once again to our audience for that bit of a glitch at the start of our presentation. And it's quite important, the point that you've raised about KZN and it being a youthful province. And we know that a lot of our entrepreneurs are youth. And then so what this says for them is that as you come up with business solutions, think of what could actually be targeting the youth and where can you better place your business. I like the point that you made, that you are able to give us statistics and a profile of our population up to a place level. So that talks to that business owner, because we know a lot of our entrepreneurs, they are still small, they are still growing. A question from Anonymous is, now that we are looking at doing a census under the new normal, what have you considered in terms of the questions that that you can ask in this particular census to actually better respond to the needs of entrepreneurs? I know we are covering economic activities and quite a lot of information about income. Is there any consideration for such changes?
Income is a very sensitive question. What we normally do with the questionnaire is there is a standard that the United Nations sets in terms of questions that they want in a census questionnaire. So we are aligned to that standard that is accepted internationally, and then we'll have our own questions that we want as a country. So we will have questions that will be specific to our context, but we do also like to keep they call it like a sort of a time series of questions. So we don't want to change the questions too much, so that you can then do a time series and compare them over time. So we do ask income, but income, and we do it in bands. So we'll ask somebody, do you earn between so much and so much? It's a very important question from a poverty perspective, because we do all of our poverty matrices based on that income question. But of course, it's very much dependent on the household as to whether they give accurate information. So you could come to my household and I could say, I earn 500 Rand a month, when I earn a lot more than that, because I'm scared that I just don't want to give you the information. All of our data is kept confidential. We have a Statistics Act which makes sure that the confidentiality is ensured, legally so. So it is protected. We're not allowed to give it out, but still people obviously have some reservations. So income is there, definitely.
Thank you. I think that the possibility of changing or incorporating other types of questions. Anonymous is asking the number of entrepreneurs capacitated through enterprise development, for example, if that can be a possible question. But thank you that you've indicated that as a country, we're actually aligned to the United Nations population type of questions. Another one that has come through from Anonymous is, what is the best possible method for everyday entrepreneurs to get access to the data? I know you have mentioned your website, if you can maybe elaborate on that.
Okay, so the website's obviously the easiest. If you're technologically literate, you could go in there, and there's a little tool called SuperWeb, and it allows you to do cross tabulations. But like I'm saying, you have to be quite technologically literate to do that. If you would prefer, you can phone us, or you can even come physically and visit us, which we trying not to do under COVID situations. So you can phone us, you can also email us, and we will, so you could say, let's say, for example, you had like I gave that example of Durban CBD, you say, please, can you tell me for Durban CBD, I want to know how many males, how many females, what is their average income, average educational, level, etc., 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 and then we'll be able to extract that for you and send it to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Ms. North. I think one other important one that has come through from Mr. Mnisi is, if we are looking at the census, we've indicated that we are counting people that hold identity documents in the country. So if we are using that as a form of identification, why are we not using the Home Affairs database? Is there an alignment there?
Okay, we don't only count people with ID documents. So like I said in the beginning, imagine we took a picture of everybody that was in the country on the night of 2nd of February. So whether you are a homeless person, whether you are an illegal citizen, whether you're a tourist who's on holiday here, you will be counted in the census here. But obviously you will be declaring, so if I was here on holiday from Zimbabwe, I would be saying I'm from Zimbabwe on my form when it tells me where I'm from. So I won't be counted as a South African. So it's not by ID number. We do, there are countries that do use those forms of registration, and it is as a population count, those that have very reliable systems of registration, and it is something that we definitely want to do as a country because the census is so expensive. But the only problem is that we can get some information from your ID number, so you can get your basic male, female, age, etc. but there's a lot of other information that you can't get. So all of the stuff about your educational level and income and your living standards, you're not going to be able to get from, unfortunately, from the ID number. So that's why the census becomes a little bit more richer, because it's got all that other information.
Thank you so much, Helen, for such an insightful presentation. I think it also gave us a better understanding of what the population census actually entails, and how not only government, but also small businesses and the general public can interact with the data and also benefit from it. We look forward to being counted here in the province of KZN, as you indicated that you are responsible to making it a success. We've also learned from your approaches. As MKI, we do a lot of field work. So we are learning from some of your approaches in terms of how do we better maximize reaching out to the population that we wish to survey. So we'll be looking into that. And thank you very much this afternoon. And to our audience, we will meet you again at the next edition of the MKI virtual lecture next week, Friday. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lungile. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Technology.
Chief, did you stop live?
Yes, it stopped.
It's at live, it. I will miss it. Chief, we leave you.
Okay.